All right, we are going to learn the basics of Photoshop today. We are in the Photoshop app. So I want you to go ahead and open up that app. And first of all, I want to make sure you have the right account information. So if you hit the little icon on the top right, and it'll pull up the app settings, hit account. And it should say that you are subscribed. If you may have to tap the word subscription. So it should say you're subscribed. If it says you're still using the free option, you did not log in and set it up appropriately. So make sure you stop the video and fix that before you go any further. Now we're gonna create a new document today. So you're going to hit the plus sign. And these are some settings that you definitely need to pay attention to, because you're going to, if you get the wrong settings, it's going to eat up all your memory in your iPad and it'll crash and it'll be really frustrating for you to get anything saved. I want you to title this hamburger. And then the units should always be pixels. Make sure, usually if you change it once, it should stay that way, but you still want to make sure that, because that's where you start to get into trouble when you use too many. So I'm going to make the width 800, the height 600, the resolution 72. The background doesn't really matter. You can make it transparent or white. It doesn't matter either way. It'll all work. So once you get all of your settings correct, push create. Okay, so I want you to look at the tools on the left. There are a brush tool, and you can see lots of different types of tools. Now, if you are using the subscribed account, you would have all these options, which you should have them. If there's like a star by them, unfortunately, that means that you probably aren't using the proper one, because you should not have to, you should have all the tools that you need. I want you to just spend some time playing around with those tools, and you can pause the video to do that. Pay attention to how to choose a color. Pay attention to the size and how to make it small and large. Also pay attention to opacity. That means that it's either transparent or it's opaque. Hopefully you know that by now. If not, pause the video and look it up. If you want to switch the colors, you want to use the little arrows. And then let's say you're trying to match a color later on in the future. If you hit the dropper, I can tap wherever I want on the image and it'll pick the color for me that I can choose. So pause the video for a minute and take some time. Maybe use the hard round brush and try maybe the soft round and write your name. Oh, I gotta switch the colors. And just get used to what those brushes do and opacity and things like that. Okay, so once you're done playing around with the brushes, we are going to start working with different layers. So the benefit of Photoshop and Fresco is that you have layers. So these are the tools that you're going to use mostly to create. These are kind of the tools that you're going to use to organize things mostly. So the plus sign is creating a new layer, and you'll see these layers are up here. Now when you hold it down, you can drag them wherever you want. So throughout the process, you may need to move them around. So that's allowed. The first layer, we're gonna tap it and rename it. I want you to name it Bun. Okay, so over here, take your hard round. Let's make the size about 375. Obviously, it's no big deal if it's a little off. It's kind of hard to get that exact number, so don't stress. Then I want you to kind of find a brown, which are usually around in the oranges. I use like a lighter color for the bun because you're gonna need a darker brown for the burger patty later. Make sure that you're looking at the opacity and the hardness at the top. And if you tap it, because you did that size at 369, you should get a pretty good circle. So that's your bun. So come over here to the right side, add new layer. This time, we're gonna rename it Lettuce. So yes, some of this is not maybe what you want on your burger, but that's because I'm trying just to teach you how to use the tools. So just humor me and follow along so you can learn how to use all the tools the right way. All right, we're gonna choose the hard round and we're gonna make it smaller. Maybe, anywhere from 10 to 20, it's fine. Choose a green. Once I hit the green here, I usually pick a color that I like up here. Double check your opacity and the hardness. And you are going to draw an organic shape of what you think a piece of lettuce might look like, okay? Make sure that you've connected that shape and it's a solid single line. Now, down here is a bucket. So, I'm gonna tap the bucket, and when I hit the center of that line, it should fill it up. Now, did you notice how you can still see the edge? And then I tapped it again and it completed the edge. So that's how you can draw a shape and fill it in. So these are all tools that I'm teaching you, but you know, in the future, you may want to change how you do that. I'm going to change this thickness of my line now to pretty small. And then I want to make the green a little different, maybe a little darker. And I'm going to kind of add those lines that look like lettuce and veins of what you might see. You might even want to add some white in there for some details, things like that. All right. After you finish your lettuce layer, we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to title it Tomato. All right, now, if we did the burger patty with 375 size, you know, depending on how big your tomato is, you probably want to do at least half of that. So I'm gonna go around 200, and I'm gonna pick the color of my tomato. Let's see, what color do I want? I want it really red. And then I need to make sure that the red is on top. I'm gonna tap it. I'm gonna put 2 tomatoes on there. How do you like that? Now let's say that this tomato I wanna move over. There's an arrow at the top left. And when you do that, you can kind of move that over. All right, let's go back to the brushes. This is where I kind of want you to play around with the different brushes. Now, you know how like tomatoes have seeds in them? Sometimes you can get into these little splatter textures. Let's maybe do like a pink color, and we're gonna make it much smaller, obviously. But you know, you might wanna add some of these textures that you can get to make it actually look like a tomato. Sometimes that's kind of nice detail. Then maybe go back into your fine. I'm gonna do the hard round again. Make sure that the size is pretty small. I think I'm gonna go in with a darker red. And then sometimes inside the tomatoes, you're gonna have like areas like this. So you can get as detailed as you want. I'm obviously not gonna sit here and wait for you to get all creative, but I do want you to think that way because, you know, we are gonna start doing some more drawing. And so there are times where you're gonna need to spend time on making things detailed. And some of you are gonna love it and some of you aren't gonna care as much, but everybody kind of needs to know what's going on anyways. So that's kind of ways to create the illusion that you have different textures. So there's my tomatoes. You may want to pause the video so you can keep working on the details. We're going to move on to the next layer. This time we're going to put some cheese on there. And I want to create a shape. All right, so I'm going to create some cheese. I'm going to go up to this hard round, pick the color that I want. Does not look like a good color of cheese there. We're going to pretend this is Swiss cheese just for the purposes of teaching you a different skill. So I'm going to draw me a square like American cheese or American Swiss cheese, you know, a little Swiss cheese there. Paint bucket, and you're going to fill it up. Okay. Now, if you want to cut out holes, the good thing about working in layers is that I'm only using the cheese. So it's not going to affect any of the other layers. And so when you're editing and you're taking away and you're erasing things, this is when the layers really comes to be ideal. It takes some time for people sometimes to think that way, but it is a way of thinking and it takes practice. So we're gonna use the eraser tool, and if you click on the size, I want you to think about the size of what Swiss cheese might look like. Make sure the opacity and the hardness are all the way up, and then if you just tap it, you can see how it may just cut out just in that one layer. You don't see it everywhere else. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. Maybe another one a little bigger. Okay, so there's my Swiss cheese. All right, laying on top. So now you know how to use the eraser tool, you know how to use the paint bucket, you know how to draw an object and things like that. All right, we're gonna add new layer. We're gonna call this the meat of the burger. So we're gonna pick the hard round brush, and now this is where another one where you can actually enjoy doing some of the textured settings. I'm gonna make this brown. Now my bun was about 375, and we can make it a little smaller. And then I think we are gonna try some different brushes here. So you think about all the texture that's in a burger. You've got mixed splatter, cross hatching, rough scratch. I mean, I really just want you to play around and see which ones you like and what textures you can get. But, you know, they're all gonna be, you don't wanna go crazy with it, but that's kind of nice texture. It looks like grill marks. Make it a little bigger. So you can see how you can really add texture really quickly through digital drawing versus if you had an actual drawing. Maybe go in a little touch darker. This time I might change the opacity. Just remember that so that when you do, you know, if you want to do grill marks, sometimes you can draw a grill mark, but you want to go back and change that later on. All right, there's my bun. You can keep going if you want. I mean, there's my meat, the meat. Now I'm gonna add my last bun. Let's say I want to use the eyedropper and try to find this color. Did you see how I touched it and it brought it right into where I wanted it? We're gonna go back up. Let's find the hard round. That's about good size. Opacity's there. Now, if you want to do like little seeds, you probably could draw them individually, but I recommend like actually looking and seeing if you can find something that matches that texture that you want. Let's see what that does. Yeah, see how you can kind of get, it's almost like the toasted with the flour. Sometimes you get sesame seeds you may want, but this is a really nice and quick way to create shading and add some dimension to whatever you're drawing. If you ever want to just go back a few strokes, you can hit this undo at the top right. So now you know how to use the layers and you know how to build something. Let's say if you move the bun, now the meat's on top. Whatever is imaged is on the top is exactly what you're gonna see. Also over here is an eyeball. You can take away some layers when you do the eyeball and bring it back. So for this lesson, I think that's where I'm gonna stop. When you wanna save an image, you can hit the export button here and you could screenshot it, but you don't really have to. Or you can do a quick export and just save the image and it'll go into your camera roll. And then I'm gonna show you later how to upload them into a shared drive where we can all see them together, kind of like a gallery.